Everything looks good, hopefully. Let's mute. Well, hopefully this sounds good enough. What's good, everybody? Take KZ back here. Wanted to do an NBA check-in here. We're about a quarter of the way through the season. So I just want to kind of talk about the landscape of the NBA here. I've tried to watch a little of every team. I haven't quite accomplished that. But let's see. I want to verify that this sound is working. Sorry, this might it's probably gonna make an echo. Okay, cool. It's working. All right. So where to start? Let's start in the Eastern Conference here. Standings do not look like how you would have expected. Coming into this season, you would expect Cleveland to kind of be the 1 seed with the Knicks, Orlando as kind of the 2 and 3, jostling for first place. That's not where we are. New York, Orlando, and Cleveland are actually the 4, 5, 6 seed. So we've got a little bit of a surprise up at the top. Miami is right now the 3 seed, 14 and 7. So they're winning 2 games out of every 3 right now. They've done most of that without Tyler Hero. We might as well just start off with them since I'm talking about them. Let me pull them up right now. This is not in alphabetical order. Okay. So they've played most of the season without Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero's only played 4 games so far. They've had a big year from Andrew Wiggins, decided to show up this year. Norm Powell slotted right in. It looks like he's their leading scorer on the year. Bam has played a lot of games. He's played 15 out of the 21. So he's been doing good. Davion Mitchell's played every game, playing 30 minutes a game. All those guys are 30 minutes a game. Jaime Jaquez has had a big rebound year. He's playing nearly 30 minutes a game as well. Let's see, any other additions here? Fontecchio is playing about 18 minutes a game. I think he's phased out a bit now that Hero is back. Someone had to drop out of the rotation. It looks like it's him. But you got, what is this? It looks like they got 8 guys averaging double figures on the year, with Pele Larson at 9.7. That would be the 9th guy. So this is a total team effort here. I haven't watched quite as much Heat as I wanted to. I'm not all that surprised that they're here. I talked with Big Rat in the Discord. He's a bit more pessimistic on the Heat, especially on the Tyler Hero element. So we'll see how it goes from here. I bet on them to make the playoffs, so they're doing better than I expected, but I expected them ultimately to be a top 6 team. They're only a game and a half ahead of Heat, Cleveland in the 6th seed because it's early. A very impressive start for them. In the Voices of Wrestling Discord, I talked NBA with Angry a bit as well. And he was projecting Toronto to be a big riser this year. I was pessimistic on it, but it looks like he was right here. Toronto is the 2 seed in the East. They're at 15 and 7, so they've played 1 more game. Let's see where they're ranking defense-wise. His projection was it would be defense. They were showing defensive flashes. Right now, they're the 4th best defense in the opponent's points per game. 22 games into the season, so it's a decent sample size. They're only giving up 113 a game, and they're scoring 117.7. So the offense is kind of in the middle of the road, but defensively they're doing great. I would say they're probably the most shocking team here in the Eastern Conference. The 1 seed is Detroit, but they were also a playoff team last year. Toronto, I believe, didn't even make the play-in last year. So their big addition last year was Brandon Ingram at the trade deadline. He's their leading scorer. So getting that bucket getter seems to have really kind of helped them go over the edge here. Scotty Barnes having a bit of a bounce back year. He's averaging 28 and 5 right now. And the kids are contributing more than I expected. They got Sandro Mumakakalaski Shiv. I definitely said that wrong. I recognize his name from the Spurs a bit. He's their backup big. He's played in 21 out of 22 games. He started the game. It looks like Portals missed 6 games, so he only started 1 of the games. He's their backup center. He's really the only veteran they have on this bench. Everyone else looks like they've drafted or they traded for, like Abaji, on rookie scale deals. But you got what? You got Murray Boyles, Shed, Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Abaji, all averaging double-digit minutes off the bench. So these young guys are contributing. Their starting lineups highly paid. Right now, everyone's averaging double figures in points. So it's working so far. You got total averaging 8.3 rebounds. Scotty Barnes averaging 7.9. So you're getting decent board protection there. You don't necessarily have it off the bench. ESPN stats. Here's 3-point percentage. Let's take a look at that right now. Scotty Barnes is shooting 41.6 from three. Murray Boyle shooting over 40, as well as Jacoby Walter. And Sandro's shooting almost 40% from three as well. So good contributions from these guys. Brandon Ingram giving them a number one score seems to really help them. I would say they're the most surprising team in the East so far. And then you got the Pistons as the 1 seed. The Pistons are 17-4. They have the second best record in the NBA. Let's see if I can get back to them here real fast. Duncan Robinson is contributing much more than I expected. He's playing 32 minutes a game for them. He's played in 20 out of 21 games. He's second on the team in minutes. So he's really filling like that Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley role almost all by himself. Karis LeVert is playing as well. Karis LeVert is averaging 20 minutes. And Devontae Green, who I didn't expect to play nearly as much as he is averaging 19 minutes a game. So the vets they replaced, if you watched my preseason preview, I thought the vets were a downgrade. But they're doing just as well, if not better, than Beasley, Schroeder, and Tim Hardaway last year. So that's been a pleasant surprise. And then obviously, when you got a young team, Cade seems to have taken a step up, as is Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren's averaging almost 20 and 12 this year. He's averaging almost 2 assists a game as well. So he's looking like an all-star. Ausar Thompson playing really well. I'll be right back. I got one. And then Beef Stew seems to have slid into his role better here. I think he's starting half the time, floating between that starter and bench player pretty well. Ron Hollins also found a nice role in this team. And then they got Dennis Jenkins. This kind of came out of nowhere. It looks like he was a two-way player this year just based on injuries and stuff at a point in time. He's been a real contributor. He's averaging 6.5 points, which doesn't look too impressive on the surface. No, sorry, that was Javonte Green's points. He's averaging 9.1 points. Essentially, as a rookie, it's technically his second year. But he was filling in when Cade was hurt. He had multiple 20-point games. I got to go get Silva. I'll be right back. So he's one of the biggest surprising players, I think, of the year. His role looks like it was really only those 2, but he's getting fairly steady minutes since then because he contributed so well. The roses come off the bloom a little bit, but he was not factored into the rotation at all. So he's just kind of a free rotation player, which has been a nice surprise for them. Let's see. Knicks, Orlando, Cleveland, Atlanta. Not a whole lot to say on those guys. They're kind of where you would expect. A little below average. Right now, they all have 13 wins. Orlando's got 8 losses. The rest of them got 9. Boston is a bit surprising. I thought they were a fringe playoff team. They're kind of right where I expected at 12-9. A lot of young guys on this squad that I figured, you don't have to hit on all of them, but if you hit on like 30% of them, That gives you the rotation. Nemes Quinta has been a legitimate NBA starter so far, averaging nearly 10 and 9 or 10 and 8, 9.7 points, 8.4 rebounds a game. It's been the rim protector they needed. Anthony Simons isn't been quite as good for them. Neither is Sam Hauser. But Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot, Luka Garza, Hugo Gonzalez have all contributed pretty well. It looks like they've got a full team effort here. Not everyone's played every game. But right now, it looks like they've got like 14 guys averaging 10 minutes a game when they play. Boucher's only played 8 games. Xavier Tillman's played 9. So those guys more or less are one guy. But it looks like they're going like 10, 11 deep most games when they have guys available. And they're really just playing the hot hand, which I think is the smart way to play it. Because you've got Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard are your 3 legit guys. They're all playing over 30 minutes a game. Then everyone else is under 24 minutes. Anthony Simons is 24 minutes exactly. Everyone else is playing less than him. So you got 4 guards playing 24 minutes. Everyone else is playing under 24 minutes a game. So they're really just rotating whoever's the hot hand on this team. Let's see how they're doing shooting threes. Let's see. Garza shooting 44%. He's only shooting 1.5 a game. Josh Minot shooting nearly 43%, 42.9 on 2.8 takes a game. Simons is right at his 40% for 6 attempts a game. Everyone else is about average or below average, really. So they're not doing it from the 3-point line. They're doing it other ways, which is interesting. I think they figured out the rebounding issue. They don't have any great rebounders. Jaylen Brown is second on the team in rebounds with 6 a game. Josh Minot is playing more. Like I expected. I don't think a lot of people necessarily expected them, but being a Wolves fan, I kind of knew this guy just needed minutes. And because of his size, he started on the team in rebounds 5 a game, which is why I expected him to get a role. There was not a lot of size on this team. Josh Minot provides that as well as providing the decent shooting clip. So he's doing better than I expected, but 42% from 3, 5 rebounds a game. That's all you can really ask. He's back to coming off the bench. He was starting there for a little while. He's got 9 starts on the year out of 20 appearances. I think he'll find his way back into the starting unit, but they're really just a hot hand team, and it's been working out for them pretty well. They're 12 and 9. Other big surprise in the East is Philly at 11 and 9. Right now, they're the 9 seed. I think overall the East is surprising how good they've looked. I think it's because they got the bottom feeders. VJ Edgecombe is the big benefactor there. And then I underplayed. I forgot how good Tyrese Maxey was because he missed most of the year last year. Maxey's averaging right now 40 minutes a game, which is crazy. VJ Edgecombe second in the team in minutes, nearly 36 minutes a game, 35.6. And then you got Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes, both over 30 minutes as well. Dominic Barlow is 5th on the team in minutes. He's kind of their quasi-starting center. Embiid is on a minutes restriction, so he's not playing a whole lot of minutes. Dominic Barlow, I have not heard his name before this season, but it looks like it's his 4th year. Started on the Spurs. He's played about 30 games a year before that, or 30 games a season every year prior to this. He's even got a couple starts before this year. And that's kind of the secret sauce to Philly's team is they've got a lot of these guys, Trenton Wofford, Justin Edwards, Jabari Walker, a lot of these guys that are good NBA players that were like the 12th, 13th, 14th man on kind of bad teams, but showed real NBA skills. They kind of got all those guys. They're all playing real minutes for this team. And they're contributing. They're getting contributions kind of from everywhere. But Tyrese Maxey is the star. He's looking like an all-star. He's looking like an all-NBA player this year, averaging 32.5 points a game, which is good for 3rd in the league overall. So Luka and Shea are your top 2 point getters. Tyrese Maxey's right there behind them at 32. And then, so that's all your surprises. Chicago's kind of right where we expected them to be after their hot start. I think they started the year 6-0. Now they're 9-11. So hovering right around 500. That's what the Bulls do. Biggest disappointment in the Eastern Conference is the Milwaukee Bucks. We've seen today, and there were rumors of it the past couple days, but today it really officially came out that Giannis is going to ask for a trade, which I thought Milwaukee was going to be able to buy a couple more years with the Miles Turner acquisition and the East being wide open, but the team is just really underperforming here. They're giving up 118.2 a game. Let's see where that ranks in the league. They look just kind of league average here, offensively and defensively. So they're 19th in defense and let's see, 19th on offense. Yeah, so 19th best team overall. That's just not good enough when you got one of the 3 best players in the league. Giannis hasn't played every game. He's played 16 games, but he's 4th in the league in scoring. He's averaging 30.6 points, over 10 rebounds, over 6 assists. So it's not a Giannis problem. It's just everyone else on that team isn't quite living up to it. I talked about that a bit in my preview. I thought they had enough NBA players on this team. And Ryan Rollins has been a nice surprise. He's leading the team in minutes, 32 minutes a game, 17.7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.6 steals. Ryan Rollins has been their second best player, which is a nice surprise. He's been legitimately good this year, but that also kind of says where that team is when Ryan Rollins is your second best player, and not a lot of people knew who he even was going into the season. Miles Turner is just kind of doing what Miles Turner has done his whole career, which is be good some of the time, but not really a guy you can count on. Kuzma, that trade was probably a mistake ultimately because Kyle Kuzma is just not a guy you can count on. Kevin Porter has only played 3 games this year. They're kind of probably counting on him a little bit more, but the emergence of Rollins, maybe you don't necessarily need him. But just all the vets on this team, I think similar to the Clippers, we'll talk about them in a bit, but you were counting on these vets to deliver a lot more than they are, and they're really not delivering that whatsoever. Besides Giannis, you don't have anyone averaging 20 points a game on this team. You got Rollins at 17.7, and then if you don't count Porter's 3 games, Kuzma's your 3rd leading scorer at 30 points a game. It's just not good enough on this team. And it seems like Giannis is going to get traded sooner rather than later. So big disappointment from them. Biggest disappointing team. And then you got the bottom feeders. So part of the reason these Eastern teams have such good records is you got 4 teams. You got 3 teams already tanking, and then a 4th in Charlotte that's not too far away from tanking. The Wizards are 3-17. I was completely wrong on them. I forgot the veterans they got rid of towards the end of the offseason. I thought they were coming into the year with like 5 veterans, but they cut Marcus Smart, they traded Kelly Oubre. I think they cut or traded another guy. So it's just McCollum and Middleton. So they're playing way too many young guys. So they're doing what those kind of teams do. They're giving up 127 points a game. That's probably worse than the league. Let's just confirm that real fast. Yep, worst defense in the league. No surprise there. Pacers have been disappointing. I thought they were going to be right along the lines of Boston, but then the injury bug just hit them all at once, and the season got away from them before it even really started. Brooklyn is actually 3rd from the bottom right now in the East at 4-16. Nothing special there. I think just those 2 teams behind them are shockingly worse. Charlotte, a lot of people are praising as a lot of fun, but they're not winning any games. They're 6-15. Constantinople has been as good as people could hope, but there's just nothing really there in Charlotte. Let's look at them real fast. I haven't watched nearly as much Charlotte. Bill Simmons is that's one of his favorite teams this year to watch because they're fun, but they just don't have good players. Kind of like I said at the beginning of the year. Brandon Miller's missed a lot of time again this year, which is a bummer. LaMelo's played 14 out of 21. My screens are off. Okay, now they're back. A guy named Sion Jones is playing 26.5 minutes a game for them. Let's see. Who's this guy? I hadn't even seen his name yet. This year's 2nd-round pick. Okay. So it looks like draft-wise, Charlotte did okay because they also drafted Kalkbrenner and Knippel. So 3 of their rookies this year are in top 6 in the minutes, which kind of would explain why they're doing so bad record-wise. That's just a lot of rookies to be playing. They're all contributing. I did not mean to close that. But, all All right, look, get down then. They are all contributing, but they're not winning, which is what happens when you play a bunch of young guys. So let's move over to the Western Conference. Unshockingly, Oklahoma City Thunder are monsters, just tearing away from the rest of the league. It's a bummer as someone living in Seattle that has family that's Sonics fans and friends that are Sonics fans. I'll always root against this team. They're looking like a shoe-in to win 70 games this year, though. So can't say anything bad about these guys. AJ Mitchell has emerged from them, be a legit player. He's played all 22 games, averaging 26.7 minutes and 15 points a game as a second-round pick last year. So Sam Presti seems to have turned it around. That was one thing I hung on to for a while with Presti, is he was an incredible drafter in the lottery. But once you got outside the lottery, he was way more misses than hits, which in theory would doom a good team, because once you're a good team, you don't have picks in the lottery. But he's acquired all these picks. That hasn't really mattered, and he started hitting on the second round. AJ Mitchell, Aaron Riggins. He didn't draft Isaiah Joe, but he scouted him and brought him in when Philly waived him. And then Lou Dort was undrafted rookie. So half this team's rotation is outside of the lottery picks now. So they're just a juggernaut. Salary comes calling next year. They'll have to actually make some cuts, which they'll maybe be able to withstand, because they got a couple lottery picks that haven't played for them yet. I don't remember the guy's name they drafted last year, because he's out for the year this year after being out for the year last year. So we'll see if he ever plays. People expect him to be good. And then the rookie they got this year, same story. He's out for the year, I believe. I don't think he's coming back this year. People are projecting him to be good because the Thunder drafted him. It's easy to expect him to be good, but both those guys have the injury bug. So we'll see. Isaiah Hartenstein is 6th on the team in minutes, and Caruso is even lower than that. Caruso's only playing 18.8 on this team. Lou Dort's 4th in minutes, so they're probably going to have to cut 2 of those guys next year. So you hope that hurts their depth. But in terms of this year, they're just a juggernaut. They kind of seem like they're a shoe-in to make the Western Finals, if not repeat as champions. Lakers have been really surprising this year. The emergence of all their white guys has really surprised me. I still don't love their roster overall, but Austin Reeves has taken a big step up, averaging 28 points a game this year on 36 minutes. Hachimura is always better than I expect. He's got averaging 14 points a game, 33 minutes a game. Ayton has been awesome so far. We'll see if he tails off as the year goes on, but so far he's averaging 15.8 and 8.6. So playing at the highest level he's maybe ever played at. Marcus Smart's got more in the tank. Jake LaRavia has been contributing well for them. So the depth has been a little better than I expected. But ultimately, we'll see what this team can do defensively once the playoffs come. Ultimately, you're still playing Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James as your 3 best players. So you're counting on a lot of these bench guys that aren't great defenders either. But right now, they're 2nd in the West. They're 15-5. Can't really say anything negative about them. Houston has been a little better than I thought they would be without guards. They're just a monster. They got so much size on this team, and they've leaned into it. Opening day, Durant started at shooting guard for them. Not sure how much they've kept up with that overall. Let's take a peek at their stats here, if I can find them. I don't know why ESPN lists this by division and not alphabetically. Let's see who's played the most games here. So no one's played the whole slate. Josh Okogie's played 18 games. They've only played 18 games. Okay, so Houston has not played nearly as many games as everyone else. Everyone else is around like the 20 to 22 games. They've only played 18. So I take that back. Four guys that played every game for this team. Let's see. They're starting the lineup. It looks pretty consistent. So it looks like Josh Okogie has moved in permanently to the starting lineup. He started 12 out of the 18 games. With Steven Adams starting 4, Reed Shepard starting 4. So it looks like Durant's still playing shooting guard for this team, which makes sense. That was the story coming in to the year, is they didn't have a point guard. Doesn't look to have mattered. Sengun is kind of that modern NBA point big. like Jokic and Julius Randle on the Wolves. He's leading the team in assists with 7.3. Ahmed Thompson is slotted in pretty decent at 5 assists a game. And then Reed Shepard's giving you 3.3. Durant's giving you 3.4. So they're kind of playmaker by committee, but it's working well for them. They're averaging nearly 50 rebounds a game. Or no, their team's averaging 50. Not sure where to look at that. I wouldn't be surprised they're averaging 50 rebounds a game, but that's probably wrong. Durant's their leading scorer, which was expected. That's why they brought him in, which slots Sengun down to your number 2, Ahmed Thompson to your number 3, Jabari Smith down to your number 4, etc. Which kind of puts everyone more at their natural position. They are giving up 111 a game defensively, so they're towards the top. It looks like OKC is the number 1 defense, yep, and then Houston is the number 2. Boston, shockingly, the number 3. That's interesting. I was not aware of that. So yeah, Houston is a defensive force I expected. They've been much better offensively than I expected. They're averaging 121 a game points-wise, which is good for 4th. Let's see, they probably are 2nd in point differential. Yep. So OKC's crushing everything. They're number 1 basically across the board. They got a 15.3 point differential. Houston is 2nd with 10.6. So huge gap there, but Houston is clearly the number 2. And kind of everything that matters. They're only behind the Lakers in the standing because they've played 2 less games. The Spurs, even without Wemby, 14-6. Denver's been hit with the injury bug. They're also 14-6. Minnesota is 13-8. It feels a little fool's goldy. I thought they would be competing as the 3rd, 4th best team in the West at worst. I don't think they're quite in that tier. I think I would put the Lakers above them right now. I would say they're kind of fighting with the Spurs. So ultimately a top 6 team. They shouldn't be in risk of falling into the play-in. And I don't think the point guard is really a problem for them. Defense has really been a problem, more so than that. Julius Randle's been awesome this year offensively. With Naz Reid releasing his sister late in the offseason, it took him a while to get going. He seems to have turned that around. So this is the most fun offensive team the Wolves have had in a few years. But they're pretty leaky defensively. They have lost to teams with a losing record and beat teams with a winning record here in the last week or so. The story of the season was they were beating sub-500 teams and losing to 500 and better teams. But they lost to Sacramento, beat Boston, beat San Antonio. So that is kind of fading away, but that's still kind of the story of their season. How good are they against actual good teams? Biggest surprising team in the West is the Phoenix Suns. They're 13-9. That's good for the 7 seed right now, the top play-in seed. Let's pull up their stats. They really just kind of built this roster to make sense, and it's played out much better than I think anyone expected. The talent didn't quite seem there, but Dylan Brooks has been awesome. He's averaging 22 points a game this year. That's probably the best he's done statistically in his career. Let's look at that real fast. Yeah, he's never averaged over 18.4. He's made a big leap with Phoenix here. It's clearly been their 2nd best player behind Booker. Booker's played all 22 games, which is good for them. Your best players on the court every game. Jalen Green's hardly played at all, but they've had Colin Golipsky. He's played really well for them, averaging 13 points a game on 27 minutes as their backup guard. Let's see. He's on his 3rd year in his career. He's kind of bounced around for a while. One of those journeyman types. Mark Williams has been a good starting center. So that was the big story. They didn't have a center last year. Nurkic was their only center. They went out and traded for Mark Williams and Nick Richards, giving them actual big minutes to go with Royce O'Neal, Dylan Brooks, and who am I missing here? Ryan Dunn. It's kind of their power forwards, actually giving them a big presence here. They also had a Johnny Goodwin who's floated around the league here for a while as a good guard. So they, similar to Philly, is they kind of snatched up all these kind of good guys that just float around on minimum contracts year to year, young, good, and hungry, giving them real minutes, and they're flourishing in that as role players, getting to play roles on actual good teams instead of bottom feeder teams. So Phoenix looks like a sure playoff team this year, even though they'll be in the play-in. That's because Golden State is 500 as your 8 seed, 11-11. which isn't too surprising. They look like gangbusters to the first week of the season, but they got a lot of old legs. So old legs don't play as the season goes on. That's what we've seen there. Let's see. Jimmy Butler has played in 20 of the 22, which is good for him. Steph's only played in 16, Draymond 19, Al Horford only in 12. So that'll be the story of their season, is their best 5 players aren't going to play together very often. So after that hot start, they faded a bit to 11-11. Then after that, every team after that has a losing record. And it doesn't seem like anyone really wants the 9-10 seed. So that's why I think Phoenix will be a playoff team this year. I wish I would have made that bet. I would have never considered them. The team I was considering as a long shot was Portland. Right now they're at the 10 seed at 8-13. The defense has not showed up for them like it was in the offseason. Obviously, they lost their head coach after the first game of the year. Memphis kind of by default is the 9 seed at 9-13. Nothing seems to really be going great there. Dallas, I think, is your one sleeper, 7-15 that can sneak in. Probably take Portland out. I would imagine Memphis ultimately has more talent than Portland, so they would hang in there. Dallas right now 7-15. Cooper Flag's been really good for them. Anthony Davis is hurt. No surprise there. I don't think they're going to sell in the trade deadline, but I think they should balance this team and build around Cooper Flag. I think they could compete for the playoffs, even kind of making seller moves. Right now, you got Anthony Davis, you got PJ Washington, you got Daniel Gafford. And you really should be building around Lively as your big. He's only been available 7 games this year. You got a lot of veterans on this team, but your best player is a rookie. So I think they'll sell off pieces, try to get younger, try to balance this team out a little more. They were playing Cooper Flag at point guard at points this year because they have no guards. They were counting on D'Angelo Russell to be their lead guard, which was a bit of fool's gold. They were counting on Klay Thompson to contribute more. He has played in 21 games, but Klay is just past that point. He's 35 years old. He's had multiple knee injuries. He's not really a guy you can count on at that level. So I would expect, whether they trade Davis, whether they trade Gafford, Najee Marshall, they'll do something to bring in like a real guard, balance this team out a little more. Obviously, Kyrie's supposed to be back at some point, so it might naturally help itself. But this roster is just a little bit too cluttered, I think, which is why they're 7-15. Biggest disappointment in the Western Conference, although I'm a believer in bad juju, is the Clippers. So given their scandals and everything, not too surprising. The Clippers are 5-16. They seem listless. They had to fire Chris Paul this week because weird situation with Chris Paul where it came out he was going to retire at the end of the year, like a week or so ago. Then they deactivated and they cut him today. He had played in 16 of the games, so it's not like he wasn't playing. So we'll see. I would imagine Chris Paul probably ends up somewhere, possibly even the Wolves. Although, like I said, I don't think the Wolves really need a point guard. We essentially get a guy below minimum because they'll be signing in December or January. So you can do a lot worse than Chris Paul, and that does address whatever point guard problems you have if you're Minnesota or whoever else. Dallas is another possible team we just talked about that needs guards. But yeah, this is just an old team, and it just hasn't worked out. They have a lot of these guys that, looking at them at a different lens here now that this team is 5-16. You got James Harden, you got John Collins, you got Bogdanovich, you got Bradley Beal. Those are all bad juju guys on top of the aspiration scandal and whatever punishment's coming from Steve Ballmer. And these guys are playing. Kawhi's played 11 games, which is good for him. But James Harden, Zubac played nearly every game. John Collins played nearly every game. It's just bad. It's just bad vibes all around with this team. It's hard to see them turning it around. They don't own their pick, which is a fascinating thing with the Western Conference. The Clippers and the Pelicans are the 2 worst teams in the Western Conference. The Pelicans right now have the worst record in the NBA. And neither of those teams control their first-round pick. So they are not tanking. They're just bad teams. New Orleans looks more hopeless than the Clippers. I don't know what that team can even really do. There's a lot of players on New Orleans. That's always the interesting thing is you look at the roster. Their roster looks good, but there's just something about that franchise that can never get it going. Zion just shut himself down again. So we'll see if and when he comes back at all. Their rookies do look good, though. Jeremiah Fields has been really good. He's averaging 15.7 a game. Derek Queen looks really good. He's played all 22 games. He starting here in the last couple weeks. He's averaging 12, 6, and 3 as a rookie, as your big. He's kind of becoming that playmaker. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to shop Zion. Bringing in Jordan Poole, who's a locker room cancer, was a big mistake. But that's kind of what you would expect Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver to do. But yeah, it's not as injury-riddled as they typically are. Everyone's missed a couple games, but for the most part, everyone's played 16 or more games out of 22. It's just bad. It's just not working. They already fired Willie Green. James Borrego seemed like a decent coach when he was coaching Charlotte a few years ago. We'll see if he can right the ship. So far, signs aren't looking too great. Okay, and then if we look at players, let's see if anyone really jumps out here in the leaders. So Lauri Markkanen's having a bounce back for Utah, which is probably why they've already won 7 games. Not that 7 and 13 is anything to be too excited about, but Lauri Markkanen's averaging 28. 28, 6, and 2 this year. So he's bounced back. He's turned himself back into a trade asset. Denny Avdia's taken a big step up for Portland, which is part of the reason Portland's good. I didn't think Portland had a leading scorer. Denny Avdia's kind of making me eat those words. He's averaging nearly 26 a game. Is that 3-point percentage? Averaging 38. So he's shooting about league average from 3, if not a little better. 7 rebounds, 6 assists a game. So he's kind of doing that same thing as Josh Giddey, and we got a couple players like that. Jokic, obviously. Jokic is averaging a triple-double this year. Let's see. Jokic was leading the league in rebounds and assists. He still is. He's at 29 points a game. So he's probably not going to be able to catch Luka. He's 6.3 points behind Luka. But Jokic is in the running to average to get the triple crown this year, which would be crazy. He's at 11 triple-doubles already on the year, averaging a triple-double. Your top 10 scorers: Luka, Shea, Maxey, Giannis, Mitchell, Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Jokic, Cade Cunningham, Austin Reeves. So Austin Reeves is the name that really jumps out. Lauri Markkanen's at 11. You got Steph, Brunson, James Harden, Avdia at 15. Durant, Norm Powell at 17. Then Michael Porter Jr. is at 18. He's been really good for Portland. Not Portland, Brooklyn. It's kind of that throw-in trade. He's been much better than the guy they got, Cam Johnson. But that Cam Johnson trade was about the depth, obviously, and that's mattered now that Aaron Gordon's hurt and Christian Braun is hurt. Denver kind of needed that depth they got from the Michael Porter trade. So that's working out well for them. Let's see, 3-point attempts percentage. That's kind of who you would expect as well. Porter's up there. He's averaging 8.8 attempts a game, which is 7th, shooting 38%. Con Knippel shooting 41% from 3 on 8.4 attempts. He's been really impressive as a rookie. Duncan Robinson shooting 40% on 7.6 attempts. Royce O'Neal shooting 41.8 on 7.5. Colin Gillespie shooting 44% on 7 attempts. So good 3-point shooting there in Phoenix. Let's see. So they got 3 of the top 26 guys in attempts. They're all shooting league average or better. Jalen Duren, second in the league in rebounds, 11.8. Cat, 11.7. Kalani Ware's at 10.6 for the Heat. Donovan Klingon is averaging 10 and 10 this year for Portland, so he's been good as a second-year player. That's Giddey. Sorry. Giddey's had a nice bounce back. He's averaging 29 and 9, nearly 20, 10 and 9, 9.9 rebounds, 9.1 assists. No one else really jumping off the page there. Josh Giddey's third in the league in assists at 9.1. Jokic is the only guy averaging double figures at 11.1. Cade second, 9.3. Davion Mitchell sixth in assists at 7.8. So he is really kind of developed into a lead point guard, averaging 10 and 8 and 1.4 steals. So he's been really good for Miami as well. Keontae George has shown flashes. He's 10th in assists. He's averaging 6.9 assists a game. Shooting percentage is still low for him. So he's doing it on volume. Dyson Daniels still leading the league in assists again. Marcus Smart is 5th at 1.8 steals a game. Ron Holland is Detroit's top stealer at 1.7. And then Trey Jones has been really good this year. He's at 1.7. He's in the top 10 in steals. Blocks. This one's a little silly. Jay Huff's leading the league in blocks at 2.3 for Indiana. I like them getting Jay Huff to replace Miles Turner. It looks like he's done his job. It's just his lost season for Indiana. So blocks is a weird one. Not kind of who you would expect there. All right, I think I'm running out of steam here. I'm just looking at stats at this point. So thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.